Barbadians reflect on the life of the late Governor General Sir Clifford Husbands. That's our top story in your Barbados Day afternoon news update for Thursday, October 12. I'm Kamar Jordan. Barbadians awoke to news that former head of state Sir Clifford Husbands passed away at his Mount Stamford St. James residence around 11:30 last night. The 91-year-old statesman was an outstanding member of the judicial and legal fraternity. He was this island's first legal draftsman. He also served as Director of Public Prosecutions, a Supreme Court judge, Justice of Appeal, and the acting Chief Justice. This morning, his colleague and friend, Sir David Simmons, expressed condolences and shock over his passing. Sir David tells Barbados Today his contribution to the legal system at home and abroad was selfless and outstanding.
First in the Eastern Caribbean, and then in Barbados. And he was, of course, Director of Public Prosecutions. And he brought to that office great dignity, skill, profound legal understanding of criminal law. And he was always very prompt, courteous, and respectful of protocol and etiquette. So the three murder cases that I did, I believe he would have appeared against me as DPP in at least half of them. I would have to go through them and count them now. But the vast number, he appeared as DPP. And what struck me then, and has lived with me since, is that he was offering leadership to other councils in that department by taking on the murder cases himself and doing the difficult ones.
Meantime, Queen's Counsel Elliot Motley has described Sir Clifford as a gentleman, scholar, and a friend.
It was with sadness that I learned of his illness and passing. Sir Clifford upheld the highest traditions of the bar. As Director of Public Prosecutions, he understood that the role of a prosecutor was as a minister of justice, to place the evidence for the prosecution before the jury and leave it to them to render their verdict, and it was not to press for a conviction. As a judge, he was firm, but nonetheless always courteous to the bar and to litigants. He was the embodiment of the majesty of the law.
And prominent attorney Sir Richard Cheltenham has also had high praise for the distinguished Barbadian. In a brief statement, Sir Richard said Sir Clifford brought integrity, efficiency, dignity, and a profound sense of fairness to public life. Sir Richard, who knew Sir Clifford on a personal level, said he was fun to be around, had a sense of humor, enjoyed a good story, and had a dignified laugh. He expressed his condolences to Sir Clifford's children, Sandra, Anthony, and Laura, as well as his extended family. Sir Clifford served as Governor General from 1996 until his retirement on October 31, 2011. In other news, this Thursday is day 2 of a national consultation on violence, at which officials are trying to find solutions. A major talking point has been the issue of gangs. Senior Research Officer in the Criminal Justice Research and Planning Unit, Kim Ramsey, has warned that the Don culture prevalent in Jamaica is emerging in Barbados. Citing notorious drug kingpin Christopher Dudless Coke, who's dominated the garrison community of Tivoli Gardens in Jamaica, Ramsey was adamant that Barbados must not go down that road.
Just look at what happened in Tivoli. I've been down there on a trip to Jamaica and I've seen social exclusion at its worst. And I interviewed men down there that told me after the squad left, they had to pay a late for the first time in their life. I interviewed a man that said so. They had no power, they had no, and they said they just took care of us because governments never did. So he sprung up now as their savior. And I said at the end of this presentation that we cannot allow, shouldn't allow adults to spring up in Barbados because of social exclusion and neglect.
Opposition economist Ryan Strawn is proposing an alternative transportation system for Barbados. Delivering the 8th Tom Adams Memorial Lecture last night, he suggested the state-owned transport board may have outlived its usefulness and that a private system with subsidized fares could work.
In 1976, due to what we economists call market failure, it was necessary for the government to both own and manage the transportation system. During Tom's tenure as well, minibus operations as we know it today were also legalized and facilitated through the issuance of licenses for public service vehicles to citizens of Barbados. This achieved two very important things. One was the partial privatization of public transport, and two, the economic enfranchisement of those operating the public service vehicles. Today, there are more than 100,000 private vehicles in Barbados, and such accessibility is no longer an issue as it was in 1976. I asked Barbados one simple question: when will we recognize that the government does not have to own a bus to deliver subsidized fares for any of its citizens?
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, touching one community at a time.
For the region now, in Trinidad and Tobago, protest action is looming. The Trade Union Federation has issued a letter to government demanding that it scraps the sanctions against the fuel subsidy. We get details now in this TV6 News report.
Roger says while the elite and government ministers can cushion the adjustment, the most vulnerable in society have already begun to feel the brunt of the burden from an increase in the cost of living.
With no adjustment to their income, the direct and the knock-on effect of this increased fuel cost will only drive them even closer to a state of destitution. It is for these reasons we, the entire labor movement, totally reject any increase in fuel costs and therefore call for the immediate
The Trade Union Federations also want government to rescind the decision to remove all restrictions on banded maxi taxis, which was deemed illegal by a High Court ruling in 2011. In addition, they are calling for measures to ensure that corporate tax and fee increases do not trickle down to the ordinary citizen, and finally, that a recommendation through the Labour Economic Alternative Plan to allocate $1.5 billion to agriculture be implemented. Labour says there will be no deliberating or negotiating on these matters, as the time for that should have been prior to the budget presentation and done through NTAC.
Further afield, an American woman, her Canadian husband, and 3 children have been freed from captivity by Pakistani security forces. This comes nearly 5 years after being taken hostage by the Taliban in Afghanistan. Arrangements are now being made for the family to return to the U.S. or Canada. More now in this CNN report.
The president actually hinted last night when he was speaking, in fact, that something very interesting was in the works and was about to come to light. Have a listen to what he had to say.
So one of my generals came in, they said, you know, I have to tell you, a year ago they would have never done that. It was a great sign of respect. You'll probably be hearing about it over the next few days. But this is a country that did not respect us. This is a country that respects us now. The world is starting to respect us again, believe me.
The president there, referring to Pakistan, he knew at the time he was speaking that Pakistan had moved on the intelligence and was, in fact, able to rescue this family. Now, the White House a short time ago also issuing a statement in the president's name saying, in part, this is a positive moment for our country's relationship with Pakistan. The Pakistani government's cooperation is a sign that it is honoring America's wishes for it to do more to provide security in the region.
And that's news at this hour, but for more you can log on to www.barbadostoday.bb. Remember, you can also subscribe to our e-paper email updates, or you can like us on Facebook. And of course, if you're moving around Barbados today, this afternoon, you can check us out in bus terminals or in screenplay in a supermarket or a gas station near you. Also, tune in to Mix 96.9 FM. I'm Kmar Jordan. Have a fabulous afternoon and be sure to join us around 6 o'clock this evening for our next update.